Greetings all. When the Arrastra was introduced at IAE, I mentioned in the video I made at the time that I might be doing a video on this new mining ship. Now that the Q&A is dropped, we have some answers to questions that came up in the intervening span of time. We also still have room for more questions and speculation as to the worth of this new ship, so this will be my attempt to address some of that. Let's get into it. First, I'll do a quick synopsis of what was announced with the Arrastra. The concept was sold to us as a large, do-it-all mining ship. It has 3 size 3 mining lasers versus the size 2s on the Mole. It has some reasonable firepower for a mining ship with 3 quad turrets sporting size 3 weapons. The turrets will also be controlled by the mining stations. The Arrastra has significant cargo capacity with a total of 576 SCU, only 64 of it being internal and the rest external. It has 2 onboard refineries, a remote tractor beam, a separate vehicle bay for mining vehicles, a large radar, and 2 size 3 shields. On to what we learned in the Q&A. So here are the highlights. Both refineries will operate at a similar capacity as the Galaxies, and each refinery will process around the same amount as all 6 refineries on the Expanse. CIG confirmed Arrastra will have 2 ports on it capable of taking ore bags from a prospector or a mole and refining ore from them. The size 3 mining lasers are not bespoke, quote-unquote, and will have upgrade paths like other mining lasers in the game. So I would anticipate we will be seeing size 3 mining heads. The pilot station will not control any mining lasers and will only be able to control the ship's missiles for weapons. The vehicle bay fits 64 SCU of cargo separately from its ability to hold up to 2 Urza-sized vehicles. Arrastra will have a shared bunk and habitation area, but no medbay. Lastly, the external ore storage uses standard SCU containers, compatible with cargo ships for offloading and transport. So after all of that, where does this leave us? One of the first questions that occurred to me when I first saw the Arrastra was, does this make the Mole irrelevant? The more powerful lasers on the Arrastra may make it more difficult to mine smaller rocks, but if the Arrastra can use smaller mining heads like the Mole can, i.e. using size 2 mining heads on its size 3 lasers, the Mole may indeed be in trouble. Remember, it's the mining head that dictates power. The size of the mining laser just tells you what mining heads will fit. Another problem for the Mole might be this. No one who's ever mined in a Mole, especially if you're soloing the ship, will fail to be annoyed with how far the mining laser turrets are from the pilot's seat. The nearest one is down this ladder, which, depending on how you go down it and random chance, will spit you out of the bottom of the ship. If hovering over a planet's surface, that can result in death by sudden deceleration. The other 2 turrets are even in a worse spot. You have to run to the back of the ship, run through this door, to a ladder, down to the basement, through 2 more doors, and out a turret exposed to the elements. Or you could have this. A single glorious bridge with remote mining turrets. It seems a dream come true, especially for you solo Mole miners. The only other potential downside to the Arrastra versus the Mole is the fact that the Arrastra is approximately 3 times the size of the Mole. We have no information on how the ship handles, both planetside or in space. Perhaps the Mole finds a niche based on this, but barring any glaring difference in handling, or the ability to use something smaller than a size 3 mining head, the Mole may be completely outclassed here. The Arrastra does cost nearly twice as much, however, so perhaps a direct upgrade versus the Mole is justified after all. Now let's talk about refining. Or more to the point, how refining might work on the Arrastra. Since shipboard refining isn't in the game yet, I thought it best to start with some of the information we have on the Expanse. First off, the Expanse has 6 reactors that run small jobs, implying that the person managing them might be very busy. The Arrastra, however, has large refiners that are each supposed to process as much as all 6 reactors on the Expanse. This may lead to less of a need to bounce between stations. As far as setting up and processing each job, we were told that ship-based refining would be an active profession, quote-unquote, so we would have to pay attention to it. However, we're also told that we would have the option to run either a customized manual refining process or choose a predetermined method with limited direct interaction needed. This implies that the manual process will be more hands-on during the refining process itself, perhaps something akin to loading and starting a washing machine versus washing your clothes by hand. If you choose a predetermined method to refine, perhaps you can go back, get them started, and leave until done. This is all speculation since none of this is final, but that's the theory I'm running with at the moment. One last point. The expanse included a statement about being able to store unrefined ore and refine it later. If the Arrastra can do something similar, perhaps it can mine, fill completely up. Then, someone who was mining can go back and refine it at a later point. This would benefit those planning to run it with a limited crew or even potentially soloing the ship. Next, I'd like to briefly talk about the Arrastra's vehicle bay. One thing I hated about using the mole versus one or more prospectors was how slow and unwieldy the mole was versus the prospector. This made finding deposits in the mole more cumbersome unless one used scouts in separate ships. While the Arrastra may not be as clumsy to fly, it is 3 times the size of the mole, so I doubt it is either quick or spry. I can't imagine it being worth it to drop land vehicles to mine separately or to scout, but I can imagine using the vehicle bay to carry a snub or two and scout for the Arrastra. We were told that the vehicle bay would hold 2 Rock DSs or 2 Urza-sized vehicles. Based on some of the initial modeling we've seen of the bay, it looks like there's a meter or more on either side of these vehicles. This gives us rough dimensions of at least 17.5 meters long, 7 or 8 meters wide, and 4 or 5 meters tall, enough room for 2 Furies, a Kruger snub, or on the outside chance, maybe a Razor. The Furies are a better bet and hold more hydrogen than a Kruger. We may all decide this is unnecessary when we actually get the Arrastra in game, but I thought I'd present it as an option. Here's some of the modeling CIG did on the vehicle bay. It looks like it has plenty of room for something to be used as a scout. Let me know what you think. Now a couple of final thoughts. The Arrastra is supposed to come with a tractor beam, and it looks like it's positioned on the back of the ship by the vehicle bay. I would also speculate that the ports to take in ore bags would also be located there as well. Lastly, and this probably doesn't mean much, but the detailed spec sheet for the Arrastra indicated that the ship was both longer and wider by several meters when it was in flight versus when it was landed. There was some concern in various online postings that the side weapon turrets were obstructed to the direct front of the ship, and I share that concern. I have no idea whether this small reconfiguration will help with that, but I found it curious either way. And that's all I have. Is the Arrastra worth it? Is it the only mining ship you'll ever need? It's certainly compelling, and for nearly double the price of a mole in the pledge store, it should be. I personally think it'll be 3 times the price of a mole when it's available for purchase in-game, so if the Arrastra is the do-it-all mining ship, you'll certainly pay for it. Thank you for watching, and if you feel I missed anything or just want to speculate about the ship in general, please leave a comment. Take care, everyone.